Hi, I'm Pastor Dave. Welcome to this week's video. Well, we had the inauguration and we have a new president, and we all look back now and say, okay, what was America like before the last administration and what is it like now? And you also ask the question, what's the future look like? And to look forward, I kind of want to look back a little bit. I'm going to go back all the way to our second president, John Adams, our first vice president who became our second president. You know, he was 90 years old, he was retired, and he was disheartened because he looked back and said, all these years in politics, did I accomplish anything? Was my life worth anything? And he really kind of contemplated, was he really had any value in all the things he did in his career of service? He had a 30-year friendship with Benjamin Rush. Now, Benjamin Rush was a doctor in Philadelphia. He was also part of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. You know, Rush was credited with putting John Adams and Thomas Jefferson back together as far as friends, because in the 1800s, the year 1800, there was a brutal political battle between Adams and Jefferson, and there became a divide, and their friendship was tested, and there was a division there, and they didn't talk to each other. And years later, Benjamin Rush was credited with bringing those two men back together again and resolving the issues that they had. So there's a lot of history there. You know, the founding fathers, they were obsessed with the word republic. And we look at our nation right now, we need to understand that we need to be a republic again. A public means that we are basically a nation that freely chooses its leaders. If you're not a republic, then you have a dictatorship, you have a king. And of course, America was breaking away from England, so they were getting away from the king and a dictatorship, and they wanted a freer government. They wanted people to have a say, and those who were in office were to represent the people. Well, since that's where we're at today, we need to kind of look back on that. And as I said, the founding fathers were just obsessed with republic and what that meant. Now, when I say republic, I'm not talking about Democrats and Republic. I'm not talking about a political party. I'm talking about the ideal system, what it actually means. It means free people coming together to elect their leaders. So that's, when I say republic, that's what I mean. Now, I kind of want to go back, and I don't want to miss this or say anything wrong, so I'm going to read from this. Benjamin Rush, talking about the republic. Now, these are letters and correspondence going back and forth between John Adams, our first vice president, our second president of the United States, and Benjamin Rush, the doctor in Philadelphia. 30 years of friendship. Rush said that all systems of religion, morals, and government not founded upon the Bible must perish, and how consoling the thought. He says it will not only survive the wreck of those systems, but the world itself. And he was saying, here's what they were saying basically. When these two godly men got together, when these two wonderful leaders got together, they said the best way to form a republic is to look back on history. And the best republic that was ever created goes back to the Bible. They go back to Jewish history, almost 500 years of Jewish history, from the time of the Exodus, when God brought Israel out of Egypt, to the time that the first king was ordained, King Saul. So from the Exodus to King Saul, almost 500 years of history. The founding fathers looked at that and said the Hebrew government, the way it was established, that is what a republic should be. And that was where their roots went. And that's what they said, this is what the basis needs to be. John Adams said, the Bible contains the most profound philosophy, the most perfect morality, and the most refined polity that was ever conceived upon earth. It is the most republic book in the world. And therefore, I will still respect it. Without national morality, a republican government cannot be maintained. So what they were saying is that basically without looking at Scripture and seeing how God established government, nothing sustains, nothing can last. Now, how do we know they thought this, and how do we know they wrote that? Well, you can go back and look at teachings doing conventions. They're recorded. It's very easy to find those. So look at the conventions at the time of John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, and so on and so forth. The teachings they gave quoted what God did with Israel, the Hebrew, that's Israel, the Hebrew government, and establishing that. You can look at political pamphlets and flyers. they also had that literature. You can even go back to sermons of that day, which also you could find in print, and see what was preached upon that time. In 1775, Massachusetts, Samuel Langdon, who was president of Harvard College at that time, he later became a delegate to New Hampshire when New Hampshire officially became a state. And he said, the Jewish government, according to the original Constitution, which was divinely established, was a perfect republic. So that was Samuel Langdon. Roger Sherman, who was also involved in framing the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. He said the civil polity of the Hebrews was planned by divine wisdom and was a commendable example of civil government. And then the last one I'll share with you is Dave Ramsay, R-A-M-S-A-Y. He was a delegate to the Continental Congress. He was really the first historian that we have for the American Revolution. So his writings are very easy to find. And he says, remember that, I'm quoting, remember that there can be no political happiness without liberty. And there can be no liberty without morality. And there can be no morality without religion. So all these founding fathers, all these wonderful leaders, as we are transitioning now out of one administration into another, and I'm not saying that Trump is going to lead us that way, but this is what we need. Right now, when you look at where is our nation before Obama, where is our nation after Obama, who are we? Who are we as a nation? You know, right now, the millennials, that group of people, they outnumber the boomers. And by the time the next election comes, they will have more of a say than the boomer generation, which has been the dominant generation for the last 20 years. And when you look at our country, we're divided. We're divided in so many different ways. We're divided over politics. We're divided over religion. We're divided over diversity. When you look at how we are around the world, what's our global image? How was it before Obama? How was it after Obama? Many people who are Americans are very concerned with privacy. They don't trust anything from credit card companies to our government. If we give our name or any information up, what happens to it? Who's listening? Who knows about our lives? That's where we live right now. And I just want to kind of take this week and say, as we're in transition, as the world is watching America take on a new leader, where do we go back to? And the best way to look forward is to look back. And going back to John Adams, going back to Benjamin Rush, going back to the other leaders who I talked about, because they said, the best form of a republic government, a free government, where the people are free to elect their leaders, the best form you can do is look at the Bible and see the Hebrew, the Israeli government, and see what God did to Israel as he brought them out of Egypt all the way up to the point to where he established their king, the first king, King Saul. It's a pretty interesting lesson. So anyhow, I don't know what your religious background is or what you believe about the Bible, but these are our founding fathers. This is not me saying this. It's not my opinion. It's all history. And it's there for your understanding and for you to kind of research and find for yourself. Anyhow, that's all I have for this week. If you have any questions or comments and want to know more about it, you can see me at interpretingthetimes.com. That's my website. It's called interpretingthetimes.com. If you Google that, it's all one word. So, hey, we're done for this week. Thanks again for watching this. I look forward to seeing you next week. Between now and then, whatever you do, just do it all for the glory of God. God bless you.